Good evening. We're going to get started tonight with tonight's May 8th Planning Commission meeting is now called to order. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Just to verify, we are in compliance with the open meeting law.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Okay. We are in compliance with the old open meeting law. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, and Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. We have some special guests here this evening. If they could come forward, we have Troop 300 here that's going to join us and lead us tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance. So we have one Brave Scout. If you could come to the front, little Troop 300, and state your name.
Jameson Cooper.
You know, we missed it. Say it again.
Jameson Cooper.
Ask everybody to please stand. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Madam Clerk, if you'd please call the roll.
Certainly. Chair Quinn.
Here.
Vice Chair Flangus.
Here.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale.
Present.
Commissioner Moody.
Present.
Commissioner Slotman.
Present.
And Commissioner Bonar.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call your attention the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and the review process if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth and smooth meeting. Thank you very much. Tonight, before we do our public comment, we have a special presentation to Commissioner Glenn Trowbridge. He served his last meeting last month. He served with us since July of 2005. Since July of 2005. So the city appreciates his service. We're going to miss him as a colleague, but we will always be able to call Glenn Trowbridge our friend. So with that, we will present Glenn with a proclamation from the city.
If we could ask Mr. Trowbridge to come forward, please. And while the chair is presenting the proclamation to Mr. Trowbridge, I'd like to go ahead and read that. Whereas the Planning Commission wishes to acknowledge the tireless and dedicated service to the City of Las Vegas and the Planning Commissioner Glenn Trowbridge, and whereas Glenn Trowbridge began his distinguished service as a Planning Commissioner on July 5th, 2005, and served as chairman from February 2006 through December of 2006, served as vice chairman from January 2008 to January 2009, served as chairman again from January 2009 to June 2009, and once more from August of 2011 to December of 2011. And whereas Glenn Trowbridge has lived in Las Vegas for over 30 years, worked 22 years for Clark County as the Director of Human Resources and Director of Parks and Recreation, and has held board positions with the Clark County Board of Tax Equalization, the Clark County Credit Union, has donated his time as the Planning Commissioner representative to the local chapter of the American Planning Association, and has been a strong supporter of nonprofit Las Vegas organizations, where he brought honesty, integrity, and a strong work ethic to those in need. And whereas the Director of the Department of Planning of the City of Las Vegas wishes to acknowledge the service and volunteer spirit of Planning Commissioner Glenn Trowbridge and to the citizens of the City of Las Vegas. And whereas the Department of Planning recognizes the many valuable contributions made by Planning Commissioner Glenn Trowbridge to the City of Las Vegas and the professional planning community in Southern Nevada, and now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission for the City of Las Vegas sends its heartfelt thanks for the commitment and dedication of Planning Commissioner Glenn Trowbridge.
Mr. Trowbridge, if you have a few words, we'd love to hear them. You can say them in the front. Did you want to say a few words at the front? Right here.
Give me a life, Mike.
Right here. There you go, Glenn.
Well,
Sit down.
it's kind of awkward. But I do appreciate the proclamation and the kind words of thanks. And I'm certainly glad that my wife, Tricia, was here to hear those kind things. She's the one that's let me out of the house on a couple of times a month on Tuesday nights and all day on Monday before the meeting, and a couple of neighborhood meetings that go on as just part of the normal duties of a planning commissioner. And I've probably learned more personally from my service as a planning commissioner. I would like to thank Councilman Steve Wolfson for having appointed me for 2 terms. It was a real learning experience, and I appreciate the opportunity to have made a small contribution to the City of Las Vegas being a better community to live in. And I look forward to spending the last of my years here in Las Vegas and reaping the benefits of the good work of the Planning Commission. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Thank you. We're now moving on to public comment. If there's anybody here that wishes to make a comment on the actions items that will be reinforced or reference to this evening's items, please come forward. If there's anybody that wants to make record of anything about the coming up agenda, now's the time to do it. If not, fine. We'll move on to number 5. The number 5 is the minutes from last month's meeting, which was on April 10th. We need a motion to approve the meetings of last month.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve last month's minutes.
Thank you.
Chairwoman Quinn, I'll be abstaining because I wasn't in attendance at last month's meeting.
Thank you. That motion is for approval with Commissioner Moody abstaining. Thank you. And that motion passes. Moving on to number 6, which is any item from the Planning Commission staff and/or the applicant wish to be stricken or held in abeyance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted upon at this time. We're going to move now to our housekeeping items, which is from staff.
Councilwoman Quinn, items 14, 20, 33, and 46. The applicants have requested that these items be obeyed to the June 12th Planning Commission meeting. And item 19, the applicant has requested this item be withdrawn.
Item 19 is withdrawn.
Excuse me,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair. Could you just verify, Steve, if item 19, if they're withdrawing without prejudice or with prejudice?
Mr. Gronauer.
Good evening, Bob Gronauer, 8345 West Sunset Road. I'm here representing the applicant item number 19, and that's going to be withdrawn without prejudice.
Thank you, Mr. Gronauer. If there's no more discussion, we'll have a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move that items 14, item 20, item 33, and item 46 be held in abeyance till the June 12, 2012 meeting. And I also move that item 19, that it be withdrawn without prejudice.
Thank you. Please vote. And that motion passes. Now we go to the one motion, one vote items. The following are items that may be considered in a one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearing and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. The first one is item number 7, TMP 44928. The applicant owner is Greystone, Nevada, LLC, for possible action on a request for a tentative map for a 95-lot single-family residential subdivision on 22.71 acres at the northwest corner of Foxhill Drive and Desert Moon Road. This is in Councilman Beers, Ward 2. Staff recommends approval. The number 8 is variance 44835. The applicant is Dr. Horton Incorporated, owner Kevin J. and Rebecca Miller et al. For possible action on a request to reinstate a previously approved variance number 5227, to allow a 25-foot front yard setback where 30 feet is required, and to allow a 25-foot rear yard setback where 35 feet is required at 9080 Bart Street and 7642 Lake Louise Avenue. This is in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Number 9 is RQR 44909. The applicant is Lamar Central Outdoor LLC. The owner is Shezwan Corporation, for possible action on a required review of a previously approved special use permit U0271-93 for an existing 50-foot tall by 14-foot by 48 feet off-premise sign at 3101 West Sahara. This is in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. The next one is SUP 44831. The applicant owner is Costco Wholesale Corporation, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for 1,845 square foot accessory package liquor off-sale use in an existing 134,890 square foot wholesale establishment at 222 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. This is in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. The next one is SUP 44890. The applicant is Mark and Margaret Sherman, owner Centennial Gateway East LLC, for a possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed 2,932 square foot secondhand dealer wearing apparel use at 5643 Centennial Center Boulevard, Suite 105. This is in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. The next one is SUP 44893. The applicant is Summerlin Enterprises Incorporated. The owner is Patan Rampart LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment to a previously approved special use permit 36571, to expand and relocate an existing thrift shop jewelry within the same shopping center at 2221 North Rampart Boulevard. This is in Ward 4, Councilman Anthony's. The next one is SUP 45129. The applicant is Dolgan Midwest LLC. The owner is B. Lance Miller and Mary Ann Miller et al. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for 148 square foot accessory package liquor off sale within a proposed 19,676 square foot grocery store at 3700 East Charleston Boulevard, Suite 120. This is in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin's ward. The next one is a vacation 44911. The applicant owner is Charles Sorrells for possible action on a petition to vacate. Oh, I'm sorry, that item was held. I apologize. There's one more. Oh, no, that's it. So that's it. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on any of these items? If so, come forward. And if not, Mr. Farlow.
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I have some comments, it's general comments, on number 7. I'll reserve those for the public comment or the citizen participation. On number 9, are they keeping that nice and beautiful, that sign? And on number 13, is that the old welfare office, that location?
Commissioner Schlossman, is that where did you ask him if it was where?
They had it as, it was the old welfare office, and they converted to a grocery store, and I see they're doing work down there now. I just wondered if that's the location.
You know what, I think staff might know that. Staff? Okay, fine.
If so, I'm all for it. If it's a place across the street, that Palm Market, then I'm against it. But I think they already have a liquor license.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Farlow. Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to speak on any of these items? If not, we need a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve the items on the one motion, one vote agenda as follows. Item number 7, TMP 44928. Item number 8, VAR 44835. Item number 9, RQR 44909. Item number 10, SUP 44831. Item number 11, SUP 44890. Item number 12, SUP 44893, and item number 13, SUP 45129.
Thank you. Please vote. Thank you, that motion passes.
Madam Chair, items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 are all final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to number 15 is an SUP 43957. Applicant owner is Great Wash Park for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed indoor swap meet at 420 South Rampart Boulevard, a portion of suite number 140, APN 13832615001. C2 General Commercial Zone. This is in Councilman Beer's office. And can we have the staff report, please?
Chairwoman Quinn, the proposed swap meet use will allow portions of a single interior tenant space to be rented out to multiple individual vendors for retail use. The proposed use meets all requirements of Title 19.12, is appropriate for the site, and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with surrounding uses. Therefore, staff recommends approval. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Good evening, Mr. Brown.
Good evening. Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. I know you're all familiar with Tivoli Village. We're merely asking for a use that will allow portions of the tenant space to be rented to individual merchants. This is very much like a beauty shop that leases space to a number of beauticians. Unfortunately, it appears that the only category that allows this use, where there is only one address, is a swap meet. We're sorry that a quality project gives the impression that we're having a swap meet as we all know it to be, but that appears to be the category, at least for the present time, for this use. The applicant would like to thank Commissioner Bonar for taking the time not only to meet with us, but to walk the property, see the actual space, and we're very appreciative. We'd ask that you follow the recommendation of staff and approve our application.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners.
Yes, Madam Chairman. A couple questions for staff. As I understand this is the only way this falls into a classification, but there are so many retailers that fall into these sub-rental categories under one address. I just have a real problem with this project having a zoning classification and a business license that says swap meet. If somebody searches the city records and, goes, oh, are there any swap meets in that area of the city? And they go, yes, so they immediately think they may be able to put a swap meet in a big box that may be vacant down the block. I would hope that we found a way to modify the language. And I know it's what's in a name, but this name has never conjured up a wonderful retailing experience. But I've seen their store in California. I've seen what is planned and what Tivoli is delivered. To have that kind of label is unfortunate. Is there a process to modify this going forward so this can be, at least other than just our public record?
Certainly, Commissioner Truesdale, that's something that we can look at. One of the things that we are trying to do as city staff is to reduce the number of use categories that we have and to use more generalized categories to simplify the process for applicants and members of the public. Looking at this particular situation where you have a single tenant space that's occupied by multiple vendors, I don't know how we can distinguish it from a swap meet, which is basically a tenant space that's occupied by multiple vendors. However, rest assured that on the licenses of the individual vendors within the space, they will not be granted licenses for a swap meet, but rather for the particular business that they're doing, be it jewelry sales or clothing sales or what have you.
And just to clarify reason I bring this up, because we have multiple examples in our community. If you go into, for lack of a better description, a Walmart, there's multiple tenants within that address of that building, from a bank that's a standalone financial institution to a restaurant. I'm just saying we have that capacity in other uses. I don't want to beat this dog to death, but if it was probably any other business, when you look at their merchandise and how they plan to handle it and the quality of the center, I understand what they're thriving to do, but it just leaves me a concern for this area that we don't come with these type of stigmas. It's like secondhand store, value marts. I mean, there's and I could go through a list of retail classifications that probably don't reflect that project very well. But so I am going to support the use because I think it does fit the center, but just the way we have to label it and everything does create some heartburn.
Thank you, Commissioner Truesdale. Commissioner Bonar, sir.
Yes, Chair. I did visit the space. It's an exciting space, and it's an exciting use for a very high-end center that's emerging now. It's really on the come. But the physical settlement that's going on is a definition of the individual spaces where the individual entrepreneurs are going to hold their space. And had time not been money being what it is, I think there could have been some physical definitions, word changes that could have been made to allow the enclosures in this particular setting to get sub-suites within the one address. And had that time been available, I would have proposed that, and I still propose something to that nature to mention this dilemma that we run across in many of the other uses, as has been mentioned. I think this will come out to be a very fine, high-end space, a credit to the development that it's within in Tivoli, and I'm ready to make a motion unless there's other comments.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? If not, we'll appreciate the motion, sir.
I move to approve item 15, item SUP 43-957. Staff has recommended approval. And after having visited the site, I think it's going to be a great addition to the community.
Thank you. Please vote. Motion is for approval. Thank you. That motion passes. The next three items are related. The first one is GPA 44682. Applicant owner is
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I was asleep at the wheel. Item number 15 is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
I'm sorry. I was just driving too fast. Okay, item number 16 is GPA 44682. Applicant owner is Dre 357 LLC for possible action on a request for a general plan amendment from MXU, mixed use, to LIR, Light Industrial Research at 2020 West Bonanza Road. This is in Councilman Barlow's ward. This is Ward 5. Number 17 is zoning, item 44683, for possible action on a request for a rezoning from C2 General Commercial to CM Commercial Industrial. Staff recommends denial on this one. The next one is number 18, SDR 44946, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed contractor storage yard with waivers of Title 19 landscape buffer with standards to allow no landscape buffer along the north, east, and west property lines where 8 feet is required, and a 10-foot landscape buffer along the south property line where 15 feet is required, with a screen wall consisting of chain link, plywood, and corrugated metal, and an associated encroachment for landscaping in the public right-of-way. Can we please have a staff report on these three items?
Chairwoman
Excuse me,
Quinn.
should we see if the applicant's here first? Oh, thank you. We just want to make sure you were here before we did all the reading. No worries. Go ahead. Staff's recommendation.
Chairwoman Quinn, these requests for a general plan amendment and rezoning are not appropriate for the subject site, as they would allow uses that are too intense for the surrounding area and that would not be compatible with the adjacent residentially zoned properties. The requested site development plan review is not compatible with the surrounding residential uses, and that the applicant is requesting waivers and exceptions of the measures required by Title 19 to mitigate the negative impacts of the site, including a lack of landscaping and a trash enclosure. In addition, the applicant is proposing to retain the existing collection of perimeter fencing materials, including chain link with slats, plywood, and corrugated metal, which are prohibited by Title 19 unless approved as part of an overall development plan. Staff does not support the use of these materials and recommends a solid screen wall in conformance to the aesthetic requirements of Title 19. These requests are also not consistent with the goals and policies of the Las Vegas 2020 Master Plan regarding mitigation of the negative impacts of commercial development adjacent to residential development, in the West Las Vegas Neighborhood Plan regarding buffering of uses and the expansion of light industry research designated parcels to the north of Bonanza Road. Staff is recommending denial of all the requests. If denied, the existing mixed-use land designation and general commercial zoning will remain, and a new site development plan review will be required prior to use of the site for commercial purposes.
Thank you, staff. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Andrea Lopez, 2805.
Andrea Lopez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Continue? Okay, 2805 Autumn Hayes Lane, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Thank you,
89.
Ms. Lopez. Did you want to tell us about your project?
Actually, we're just going to withdraw the application without prejudice.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay. All three of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So there'll be a motion to withdraw item number 16, GPA 44682. Oh, wait, I can't make the motion. Go ahead.
Madam Chairman, thank you. At the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion on item 16 for withdrawal without prejudice, and that would be GPA 44682.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Madam Chairwoman, again, at the request of the applicant on item 17, I'd like to make a motion for withdrawal without prejudice on abeyance ZON 44683.
Thank you. Please vote. And that motion passes as well.
Madam Chairman, again, at the request of the applicant on item 18, make a motion to withdraw without prejudice on item SDR 44946.
Thank you. And that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for coming down. We're moving on to number 21 now, which is SUP 44665. The applicant is VC Toros LLC, owner, the Vista Commons Center LLC, for a possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 4,000 square foot pub, bar or lounge at 11760 West Charleston Boulevard. This is in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. And the companion item to that is the SUP 44667 for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 4,000 square foot gaming establishment restricted. And can we please have staff's report on this?
Madam Chairwoman, the Summerlin Development Standards have no distance separation requirements. The proposed use will be adjacent to an existing pub, bar, or lounge use, and is located within 1,500 feet of an existing school. The school is approximately 280 feet away, south of Charleston Boulevard and west of Desert Foothills Drive. Both of these streets are 100 feet in width. Staff finds that the uses as proposed are compatible with the adjacent commercial uses, and the distance separation is buffered from the school is buffered by the 100-foot right-of-ways, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Lazovich.
Good evening. Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. We appreciate staff's recommendation of approval of both of these items. This operation will be conducted by Adam Corrigan, which you may know has many successful ventures here in town, Sedona, Roadrunner. He actually also has the adjacent pub tavern to this, which is known as John Cutter's. He would like to do a tapas-style restaurant bar in this location, and so we would ask for your approval tonight. I would like to offer one condition if you're inclined to approve this, and that is that the hours of operation for the pub, bar, or lounge, which is a tavern, will be 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. So the reverse is that we will be closed from 3 a.m. to 10 a.m., a period of time that works for our applicant. He does not want a 24-hour operation at this time.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this matter? If so, come forward. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners. Sir.
Yes, Madam Chair. I visited the site and I also met with Ms. Lazovich, and the fact that this center is inwardly turned with reverse frontage to the roads, I think does as good a design of turning its back to the neighbors, whether it's a school or the residences. And since it is such an internal orientation, I don't find that it will do anything of damage to the neighborhood, and I would ready to make a motion unless there's some additional comments.
Thank you, sir. With that, we'll be ready for a motion.
Move to approve item number 21, SUP 44665, including all staff recommendations plus the hours of operation that were proffered by the applicant's representative. We'll take that separately.
And that motion passes.
Again, on item number 22, move to approve SUP 44667 in accord with all staff recommendations.
Thank you. Please vote. And that motion also passes.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, those items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. Our next item is number 23, variance 44934. The applicant is North Las Vegas Pasta LLC, owner NS Southwest Number 4 LLC, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 101 parking spaces where 126 are required at 8001 North Durango. Staff is recommending denial. The companion item is number 24, SUP 44933, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 3,900 square foot liquor establishment tavern use with a waiver to allow 130-foot distance separation from another liquor establishment tavern where 1,500 feet is required. Could we please have the staff report first?
Madam Chairwoman, the site is currently has a use of a beer wine cooler on sale in conjunction with a restaurant. The applicant proposes to expand the restaurant by an additional 1,356 square feet of internal use and 200 square feet of outdoor use. This will require an additional 25 parking spaces, and as such will require a variance. Staff recommends denial of the parking variance as it is a self-imposed hardship. In regards to the special use permit for a tavern, staff also recommends denial as it cannot be conducted in a harmonious or compatible situation with the surrounding land uses.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Jennifer Roberts of the law firm of Lionel Sawyer & Collins, 300 South 4th Street, appearing on behalf of the applicant, NLV Pasta, which does business as Rosati's at 8001 North Durango. I'm here with Ken Corbett, the franchisee and operator of this Rosati's location. This is a very popular pizza establishment in the Northwest that's seeking a special use permit for a tavern and a variance for a 19% reduction in the parking. Rosati's is subject to a 16-year lease at this site, and based upon huge customer demand, wants to expand into the space adjacent to it, which has been unoccupied or vacant for 5 years. Therefore, with the expansion, Rosati's will hire 15 more employees. They'll meet the needs of the customers that have been asking for more restaurant seating space. The reason for a tavern is, there's a couple of reasons. First, that the space is just too small to accommodate the supper club seating requirements. And although Rosati's currently serves beer and wine, it would also like to be able to serve mixed drinks to its customers. Again, this is really in response to customer demand. If approved, the business model will not change. It's currently a pizza establishment, and it will always be a pizza establishment. The franchisor would not allow the operation to become a traditional tavern, and that's not what the business owner wants either. He just wants to accommodate, again, the needs of his customers. And this is clearly what the neighborhood wants. We've already submitted 750 signatures in favor of this application. I have 150 more here to add to the record, if I may.
If you could please give them to the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. So that totals 900 signatures in favor of the application. We also held a neighborhood meeting. 9 people attended. 3 of the people who were opposed to the project were either owners or employees of a tavern that's located across the street, a little further across the street. There were 2 residents that were generally opposed to liquor in the neighborhood. 4 of the remaining 9 were in strong support of the application, and one of whom was a member of a homeowners association, which he indicated also favored this application. As of yesterday, we also understand that not one protest card has been filed with the city. The City of Las Vegas Municipal Code does allow for this use, although there is a more traditional tavern, like I mentioned, that's across the street that, has liquor, gaming, smoking, that is separated by Durango Drive, which is more than 100 feet in width. It consists of six lanes, and there's also an island in between that the lanes of travel that separate the uses. The code does provide that a waiver of a separation between taverns is permitted upon approval of a special use permit when there is a right-of-way of at least 100 feet. And here again, there's at least 500 feet from door to door separating the taverns, with Durango Drive, a 100-foot right-of-way in between them. There will not be any increased intensity or demand on the center with this approval. There's plenty of parking for the center, especially since during the peak hours of operation for Rosati's, which is about 6:30 p.m. 2 of the 4 other businesses in the complex are closed for business, and there is one other vacant space as well. Rosati's has performed an informal study of the parking during the peak hours of operation for the past 23 days, and they found at the busiest time there were 66 empty parking stalls at minimum in the complex. And I will submit these results into the record with your permission, Madam Chair. Sorry.
Thank you.
Again, the neighbors, and we can demonstrate also, we have photos for the past, for several days that show that there is plenty of parking. We have different angles if you'd like to observe those as well. The neighbors have spoken. They want Rosati's to succeed and continue to be the neighborhood pizza place that they've come to love and enjoy. And so we ask for your support as well for these applications. And again, we're happy to show photos of the parking to show that the variance would really not have any kind of impact.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts.
And Mr. Corbett is here to answer any questions about business operations as well.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Ken Corbett, and I am the franchisee of the Rosati's at 8001 North Durango Drive.
Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this item? If so, come forward. Mr.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I'm interested in 2 things. Number one, is Rosati's a family restaurant, and can they keep the liquor and the kids separate? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Farlow.
It's a family restaurant. Yeah.
Children that are, but there is also requirements for a barrier that would prevent access to alcohol to the minors.
Right. There's doors. It'll be barriered.
Okay.
The kids won't get in there.
All right, we understand. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? You, sir?
Sure, come on up.
Please state your name and address for the record.
William and Deborah Ferguson, 8157 Cane Creek Mill Court.
Hi, Ferguson.
89131. Hi. We've been long-term patrons since he opened. He's catered several affairs for us, and we enjoy going there once, twice a week. I think this will complement the neighborhood. Yes, there is a tavern across the street, but it's more of a sports bar, at least I think it is, where this is more of a family location where you can go and have a glass of wine and just relax. So I think it's going to complement the area. I can't see how it's going to hurt.
Thank you.
You agree?
I agree totally. I've been there several times without my husband because he's been working, and there are constantly people in there packed, and they will wait. I've seen them wait half hour, an hour for a table to sit and enjoy the restaurant.
Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir?
Good evening. My name is Al Ruth. I'm at 7305 Buttons Ridge in Las Vegas. I'm also a business owner here in Las Vegas. I've been going to the Rosati's franchise restaurants for 40 years. I bring my grandkids there, my family, my friends. It's a very family-oriented restaurant, pizza place. It's excellent food, recommended highly to everybody. I really can't understand the issue. Anytime I have gone there, there's plenty of parking, no matter how crowded the restaurant is. But anyway, I'd like to see it approved.
Thank you, sir, for coming out tonight.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Mike Muma, 5605 Rose Ridge Avenue. I just moved in the area from Fort Myers, Florida. I'm a member at Silverstone Country Club. I've met Ken through there a couple times, going in, picking up a sandwich and so forth. The staff there is fabulous. The people that come there is a mixed breed of people. You have the elderly, you have a lot of people with kids, you have people that are my age. The outside dining is wonderful. It seems to me that it's well-run, it's not a dive. Ken here has also done a lot of charity upcoming golf events that they have sponsored. It's going to be a sad thing if it doesn't get approved, just because of the jobs that are available that are going to be generated in this time of our culture where we need honest businessmen. I think it's something that we really need to definitely check into further than just on the surface.
Thank you for coming out this evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is Joseph Kane. I live at 7942 Quail Mountain Lane. I am a recent transplant here from Pennsylvania, a small town in Pennsylvania. And one of the things we used to have in a small town is what I would call a neighborhood bar. It would be a nice place to get something to eat, meet some friends, do some, just some socializing. And this is the only neighborhood bar I've been to since I've come to Las Vegas. It is a nice place, it's a clean place, and the guys that work there are very, very friendly and accommodating.
Thank you very much, sir.
Rich Schumacher, 7728 Windswept Street. I've been going into this Rosati since it opened, and the previous one over on Cheyenne, I believe it is. This location here, my wife and I go in there once every Saturday night with about 10 people, and one day a week we usually go in it also. The Saturday night, we have never had any problem with parking at all, and it's always wide open. So if that's the only problem there, I see no reason to deny it.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
out tonight, sir.
My name is Joe Tedios, my wife Cheryl.
Hi.
We live at 2941 Harbor Cove Drive. We are business owners ourselves. We have a couple sandwich shops, and we know how hard it is to satisfy customers. And we're at his restaurant every Friday night for dinner. And at times we have to sit and wait because there's no tables in the place. And the outside seating is great.
Yeah.
We would hope that you would see fit to give him what he is looking for. And I assure you that everyone will be happy, all the neighbors and the city itself. We appreciate
Thank you.
anything you could do.
Can't find a
Thank
better
you.
pizza place than Rosati's.
I think it says a lot for all of you to come out this evening in favor of something.
Thank you very much
Speaks
for your time.
volumes. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to say anything about this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and we'll open it up to the Planning Commission.
Yes, Chairman Quinn, I have a question for Director Fagg. With them getting a tavern license, is this, and usually we don't get into the licensing aspects, but I'll go ahead and ask the question now, because if this is a family-run business or kids and families are entering this business in the evening, wouldn't that keep the kids from being able to dine if it's considered a tavern?
Chairman, if I may respond, there are requirements in Nevada revised statutes relative to the operation of taverns and minors being allowed in taverns. Essentially, I believe the requirements are that they have to be with their parents, and there are separation requirements of the bar facility. Those standards are put in place on the actual business license, and so our licensing compliance team would need to verify that they are operating in compliance with state statutes and with city requirements.
Okay, thank you. And one more question for staff. Is there a difference in the parking standards for a special use permit for a supper club versus a tavern? And you don't have to do the calculations, just generally speaking?
They're exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak, sir?
Yes, Madam Chair, I've too visited the site and met with the owner and his representatives here. I think the addition and the fact that it is separate, and it's in a separate suite, but there will be a controlled access between the suites. That control is, I think, what you're making reference to in terms of separation. This will accommodate the kind of crowds that have the half-hour or so wait, and so I think the addition of both the additional suite and the extra outside patio seating would be a fine addition to the neighborhood. And I can't say enough about not only 900 signatures, but the shortness of time in which those signatures were gathered is just amazing to me. And I thank you all for showing up on the positive side of support, dear neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I guess we're ready for a motion.
No, I have a question, ma'am.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm curious because I looked at this, the Rosatis, and you say it's a franchise, and the franchisor has some controls over your business model. Okay. Is a franchisor, with this being a tavern, does that call into account and this may be a business licensing question, that the franchisor would have to be licensed under Nevada law?
No, I think it's just the franchisee would have to be licensed, yeah. Am I right?
Well, I mean, if you participate in privileged business and you make revenue, I'm just curious. That was my question. The other thing is, how many total Rosati's restaurants are there in their chain?
About 200.
How many of them are operated as a tavern?
About 25.
Okay, and primarily where would those?
Actually, they're open, pardon me, they're opening more pub type of operations. They've just opened a couple in California, doing real well. Temecula just opened. They've got some in Phoenix, which do real well as the pub operation, and they have a number in Chicago. I think they have 70 stores in Chicago, about 40 in Phoenix. Now they're starting to open California, doing wonderful in California. And Texas, Texas is another market that's very good for them. And the company's been around since, actually the company started in New York in 1905 in Coney Island.
I think it's you have a great business concept. I understand, I've heard all the comments from the neighbors, and the support is great. And I hear the support for more seating, expanded, but I didn't hear the clamoring for the tavern slot machines aspect of it, which I don't find that family friendly, because you can't have kids in there. So I raise that question because I hope it winds up being what everybody expects it to be. But
it's going to be non-smoking, because I'm kind of a non-smoking kind of person. I'm just not really for that. So it'll be non-smoking. It'd be nice to have a room where we could have some parties in, do things like that. We get a lot of calls for that. It'd be nice to be able to serve a full liquor. If I could get a supper club license there, I would have done that. But I can't qualify with the way the seating is. With a supper club, I would love to have a supper club.
no, we don't allow, the kids can't go into the bar portion, right?
They can't access the bar.
No,
Excuse me, they can't access the bar. There will be restrictions on that, obviously. And, you know, even though Ken mentioned that there are locations that operate, of Rosati's, that operate as your traditional taverns like pubs, this location is not going to operate. It's going to be a restaurant. It just will happen to have a tavern use that accompanies that, which allows for full alcohol beverages, as well as, you know, gaming if he chooses to add it. Again, that's not his primary business model. It will always be a pizza establishment. It's not converting to the brew pub style. It's just really to expand seats, offer a variety of alcoholic drinks, and maybe add a few gaming devices, but not to be your typical tavern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a few comments. I've also been to the site. I attended the neighborhood meeting. There was some opposition. There was some strong opposition from one gentleman in particular. It's interesting. Normally in Ward 6, we get a real strong pushback for liquor. I think it speaks volumes about the reputation of Rosati's that you've been able to garner this community support behind you. And I'm satisfied, Ms. Roberts, and thank you. You've addressed all my concerns, namely the parking reduction. I'm satisfied that the peak hours, when considering the other businesses in the area, you're going to be able to accommodate all the people that are going to want to attend. I think we'd all be happier if we were looking at a supper club here, but we just can't do that under the circumstances. And so my recommendation, when we're ready to vote, will be for approval on both items.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I guess with that, we could be possibly ready for that motion, Mr. Moody.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to item 23, variance 44934, move for approval subject to all of staff's conditions.
Thank you. Thank you. And that motion passes.
And the companion item 24, special use permit 44933, also move for approval subject to staff's conditions.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. And that also passes.
Madam Chair, those items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on now to item number 25, which is a variance 44952. The applicant is Nevada Development and Realty Company, owners NFC LLC, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 4-foot setback from a property line where 5 feet is required at 2300 West Sahara Avenue, Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending approval. Its companion item is item number 26, SUP 44951, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed 8-foot tall, 5-foot by 6-foot off-premise sign at 2300 West Sahara. This is also in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian's ward. Staff, could we please have your report?
Chairwoman Quinn, the applicant is proposing to replace an incidental address sign with a larger sign that will also include tenant information and located in the median of a driveway that provides shared access to the subject site at 2300 West Sahara Avenue and to the adjacent lot to the west at 2500 West Sahara Avenue. The median is located within the lot line of the subject site, but the sign is intended to advertise businesses located on the adjacent site to the west, resulting in an off-premise sign. Due to the unique shape of these lots, the lack of frontage along Sahara Avenue Public Way, and the limited width of the existing median, staff is recommending approval of the requested variance. Staff is also recommending approval of the requested special use permit, as the proposed off-premise sign meets all requirements of Title 19.12 and is compatible with the surrounding development, as it is restricted in placement, size, and appearance to the plans and elevations submitted on March 28, 2012. If denied, the existing sign would remain. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you. Good evening, applicant.
I'm representing Tom Thomas and Ted Rosenstein.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Mike Weber, 3387 West Oquendo.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Do you have anything to say about these two great
Well, what we're trying to do is, there's a sign that's been up there 15 years. We're trying to take that down and put up a new sign for the tenants only in the back part of the property at 2500 West, Sahara.
Right.
And that'll be for the medical people in that building for just the tenants in that building, and there was only about 7.
Right.
It's very hard to recognize them from Sahara without that identification sign.
No, I agree with you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? If so, come forward. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to the Planning Commission. Byron?
Chair, I have no comments. I think it looks very nice.
Oh, well, thank you, Byron.
If anybody has any more questions, I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Truesdale did.
Well, I was just going to make a motion to move this along, so.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments or questions, I'd move to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you, that passes.
And for item 26, follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, and that also passes.
Madam Chair, those items go forward to City Council on June the 6th.
Thank you. June the 6th.
Thanks.
Thanks. Moving on to number 27, it's in SUP 44798. The applicant is Louis A. Martinez, owner, Transwestern Investment Holding, Cheyenne Fountains, LLC, et al., for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a beer, wine, cooler, on-sale establishment use within a proposed 2,400 square foot restaurant with waivers to allow a 370-foot distance separation from a church and 100-foot distance separation from a city park, where 400 feet is required at 7450 West Cheyenne Avenue, Suite number 108. This is in Ward 4, Councilman Anthony's ward. Can we have staff's report, please?
Chairman Quinn, this is a request to allow beer, wine cooler on-sale establishment use within an existing restaurant. The use is permitted in the C1 Limited Commercial Zoning District with the approval of a special use permit. It meets all requirements of Title 19.12 with the exception of the requested waivers, which can be supported due to the intervening uses between the proposed use and the protected uses, and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding uses. Therefore, staff does recommend approval. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Do we have an applicant here this evening for this item? If so, come forward. If not, we'll trail it till the end of the meeting, if that's okay with you, Director.
That's fine. Okay,
we're going to go ahead and trail item number 27, and hopefully they show up. These are all together?
Yes, those are all right.
We're moving on now to related items 28, 29, and 30, which is SUP 44851. Applicant owner is Providence Plaza LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for gaming, incidental gaming machines only within a proposed 5,730 square foot convenience store at 7161 North Wallapai Way. This is in Ward 6, Councilman Ross's ward. The next one is number 29, which is SUP 44852, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for liquor sales for off-premise consumption within a proposed 5,730 square foot convenience store. Staff is recommending denial. Excuse me 1 minute. Is this one off or no?
No, that's still on.
Sorry. And then the next one is SDR 44850, for possible action on a request for a major amendment at a previously approved site development plan review, SDR 18031, for a proposed 5,730 square foot convenience store with gasoline sales, drive-through restaurant, and a 2,360-square-foot car wash with a waiver to allow 3-foot landscape buffer along a portion of the east perimeter where 5 feet was approved. Could we please have the staff report on these items?
Chairwoman Quinn, this is a request for a convenience store with gas pumps, a drive-through restaurant, and a car wash. Special use permits for liquor sales, beer, wine coolers only, and for a gaming establishment restricted within the convenience store also accompanied this request. The project is located within the VC Village Commercial Land Use designation of the Cliffs Edge Master Development Plan, which allows the proposed uses. However, the proposed uses are too intense for the adjacent residential development, and landscaping, screening, or other measures are either not present or not sufficient to mitigate the negative impact of the proposed development on these adjacent residences. The proposed project will result in an overdeveloped site that is not compatible with the surrounding adjacent residential development. Therefore, staff recommends denial of all 3 applications. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening, applicant. Please state your name and address for the record.
Madam Chair, Ms. Lazarevich warned me that this would happen to me.
Why?
The
That you'd laugh at me?
No, I'm laughing at the microphone came on unexpectedly.
That, Jennifer.
Commissioners, Mark Fiorentino, 8345 West Sunset. I represent the applicants tonight, who I think will be familiar to at least some of you. Combined, they have a substantial experience in the city of Las Vegas and Las Vegas Valley, both developing and operating projects very similar to this. The applicants are a joint venture between Mr. Hank Gordon with Lorich Properties. Those of you know Hank know that he has well over 20 years of experience just in the city of Las Vegas developing commercial centers. A couple of examples that you might be familiar with in the Northwest area in particular are the Target Center at 215 in Tenaya and the Albertson Shopping Center at Farm in Durango, up north of the hospital. The other applicant before you tonight is Mr. Bruce Vermillion with City Stop. For almost 15 years, Bruce has been developing and operating the City Stop chain of convenience stores here in the Valley. He's sort of specialized in and focused on neighborhood locations much like this and become very successful at not only developing and operating stores that are compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, but that actually become part of the character of the neighborhood where he obviously his primary customer base is from the immediate surrounding neighborhoods. Some examples of his City Stop operations are Covington Cross in Summerlin, Cheyenne and Durango in the city of Las Vegas, and Farm in, I believe it's Tenaya, Farm in Cimarron. Again, an example of one up in the Northwest area. Mr. Vermillion would be the operator of this location. A little bit of background on this site. This site is part of the Providence Master Plan community. This site has been planned for commercial uses since the inception of the master plan. It was all approved as one large project. The site is governed by the Providence Master Plan standards, the development standards and the uses that were permitted, again, all approved at the same time that the overall master plan was approved. As staff pointed out to you, the convenience store, the car wash, and the gasoline sales are all permitted uses in the Providence standards. The access, this site shares joint access with residential apartments, primarily to the west and to the south. That joint access was approved, again, as part of the overall project for this entire site. It was contemplated all along that they would share access to the commercial that's before you tonight. This is a partially developed site and frankly has been struggling ever since the inception, I think part because of the economy and part because it has not had the anchor tenant, if you will, the main draw. So it is mostly vacant today and has been since it was originally constructed. These buildings here are all existing. What's before you tonight, as staff points out, you have a use permit for restricted gaming and a use permit for beer and wine sales for off-premise consumption, and you have a request to approve a revision to the original site plan. What the original site plan showed in this area that's before you tonight is other just straight commercial retail uses that backed up to these residents. We've actually been working on this project for some time, actually well over 6 months. We've been meeting with different stakeholders. Those are you that are familiar with the Providence Master Plan and the residents out there. Providence is mostly developed and mostly occupied. There are still subdivisions that are out there working to sell, but there are a lot of existing, very active residents in that community. We've been working very hard with those stakeholders, including the Design Review Committee. This project had to be, much like Summerlin, had to be approved by the Master Developers Design Review Committee. And we've met on at least one occasion with the HOA board out there. And as a result of those meetings, we've made a number of revisions to the site plan, generally trying to balance 3 different primary goals. One was to maintain the integrity of the entrance to the master plan. This is the main entrance to Providence. It's very important to the master developer and the people who live out there. If you're familiar with the site, it is beautifully landscaped. It's very well designed. This center, even though it was a plan from the very beginning, was very thoughtfully integrated into the whole project. So that was one of our primary goals, is to protect that integrity. The site actually sits well above Hualapai. It's well above the grade of Hualapai. The second was obviously to minimize our impact on our immediately adjacent residential neighbors. Even though this was always planned to be commercial uses next to them, we needed to work to minimize the particular uses that we have. And then the third was to obviously to maximize the circulation both within and on the exterior of the site. To highlight some of those changes that we made that I told you about, or the efforts that we made, the first was to maintain as much of the existing landscaping as we could and build upon it. So instead of tearing it out and redoing it, we're going to take what's there now, which again, if you go out and look at it, provides a very good screen just today, and build upon it. The second was to help maximize these buffers here. These are existing planters, and again, we're going to take the plantings that are in these and increase them. This is the residential here and the shared driveway between us. The third is just in some of the design, and we looked at multiple different designs and configurations of this site, trying to balance those 3 things. But we designed the car wash so that the noisiest part, the exit part where the drying of it is furthest away from the residents, and of course, not only screened by the building, but the landscaping we're installing. We designed an extra, thank you.
Thank you.
An extra length drive-through facility for our food partner in the convenience store, so that it stacks all the way around this building, so there's plenty of room for cars to remove themselves from this site who are utilizing that service. The pickup windows are off against Hualapai, away from the neighbors, and there are no speakers along this side adjacent to the neighbors to our west. The speaker units are over here on the south side of the property. Again, we're going to maintain much of the existing landscaping that's out there now, and then build upon it with another layer so that it has a dual layer of landscape buffer. There's a couple of specific issues that I wanted to just address briefly in the staff report. One had to deal with the waiver for the depth of the landscaping. That sounds very poor on paper, that we're going from 15 feet to 3 feet, but I think when you understand the circumstances, you'll see that it's warranted. It's just in this area right here along the site plan. And the reason it's only 3 feet in depth is just a matter of where the property line is. This is a specific parcel, and the landscaping outside that line is actually on a separate parcel because it's maintained by the homeowners association. So it sounds like we're only providing 3 feet of landscaping, but really we're not. This is roughly 25 or 30 feet of landscaping that's already in place. It's only 3 feet of it on our side of the property line. The second thing that I wanted to address is the trash enclosure. Staff says rightfully so that this is a poor location for this trash enclosure because it's too close to the shared driveway of the neighbors. They're absolutely right. We need to move it, and we can relocate it. Really, there are a number of different places on the site that we can do it, but probably the preferred location is here to get it further away and completely screened by the buildings. We do enjoy the approval of the Design Review Committee, and we also have spent a tremendous amount of time over the last couple of weeks out canvassing the neighborhoods within Providence. And so, with your permission, Madam Chair, I'd like to submit into the record petitions of support that we gathered for it. I apologize for the thickness. We actually asked people to sign individual pages so that it could be very clear what they were signing. We put on the page a copy of this exact site plan that's in front of you so that they could see all of the uses and how they laid out. You also see from reading the petition that we specifically called out the liquor, or the beer and wine use and the gaming use. And so there are a little over 600. There's close to, I think there's 606 exactly, signatures in support. And so we'd submit these for your record.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
And with that, I guess I'll ask for your approval, but be ready to answer any questions you have. I know Mr. Gordon and Mr. Vermillion are here too. If you have something that's specific for them that we need them to answer, they're prepared to do so as well.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this item? If so, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. And Mr. Farlow.
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. Because Dr. Gordon was a former planning commissioner, I have a lot of faith in his judgment on what he's done with this, but still, we have the same kind of an operation on the Five Corners at Eastern and Fremont and Charleston that is an absolute traffic disaster. And I don't want that happening to these people out there. The main thing, the concern is the traffic pattern. I mean, you've got so much going on here. You've got a convenience store, gasoline stalls, drive-through restaurant, and a car wash. So the main thing is the traffic patterns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farlow. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Could you
No, sorry, I got it now. Thank
There
you,
you
Mel.
go. Thank you.
Jonathan Fontenot, 10217 Timberline Peak Avenue in Somerset, which is part of Providence. All of us in Providence want this area to succeed. However, I am against this because I think your staff is right on. It's an overdevelopment, and it's going to cause a lot of traffic problems for this area. We like to take our family on walks along this sidewalk right here. I don't think that is going to be possible anymore with the traffic that's going to come in, particularly with the car wash, the gasoline, and the drive-through restaurant. And although I do appreciate that people who bought in the townhomes here, technically, I guess in some way they should be responsible and know that they share commercial use, I think it's going to be a huge hit to the head when they realize all of a sudden, I think, the amount of traffic that is going to be there right on their front doorstep in this area right here. And so from a noise standpoint, the traffic on Hualapai is already fairly extensive, especially during rush hour times. I think this is going to create a lot of problems, and for people like myself who bought into Providence based on what the vision of it was for us, unfortunately, as much as I would like this commercial area and I want this to be a successful area, I don't think this is the right fit. And I do think, again, like your staff has said, I think it's overdevelopment. And unfortunately, as much as I think this is needed, this is not the right place for it.
Thank you, sir, for coming out this evening. Is there anyone else? Here we go. Good evening.
Hello. Chris Dvorak, 7848 Askew Place. I'm a homeowner in Providence, and I support this this development 100%. I feel that area is struggling due to the economic conditions. It's turning around slowly, but I feel if we allow an establishment like this to come into the area, it may attract other homeowners or home buyers to want to purchase in this area, that they would have the convenience of a location that close to home. Currently, we have to drive several miles to get anything even close to what this establishment would be able to offer us.
Right.
So that is all. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public comment and we'll open it up to the Planning Commission. Mr. Moody.
Okay, thank you. A few comments, perhaps a question or two. With regard to the petition, I noticed that it did not call out either the drive-through or the car wash. Although it's on the map itself, it didn't put it in the text of that petition as it did for beer and wine sales and for gaming. Frankly, I don't have any problem with the gaming or liquor sales either, but I'll get to those in a minute. Love the city stops. I think those are a tremendous benefit to our community. They look good. They serve a purpose. I think there's a general consensus in this area that they want a convenience store. I don't mind the gasoline, but I do think there's too much going on here. So I guess my first question to you is there some middle ground here? Is this an all or nothing deal? Can we give up drive-through? Can we give up the car wash? Or one or the other?
All right, which button do I push? Sorry, I'm not familiar with it. You know, we talked about that, and we would really rather not do that unless we absolutely have to. What we're trying to do is maximize the ability to make the thing a success, and these different components, Mr. Vermillion has been able to make a success, and frankly been a good neighbor in those locations where he already exists. And we spent a tremendous amount of time designing it to make sure that we would minimize those impacts. I will take responsibility, Commissioner, for the fact that the petition specifically didn't call out the car wash in it, but because I helped draft it. I will tell you that I'm pretty comfortable based on the fact that you don't, partly because you don't have more people here and the folks in Providence know how to come when they're upset. And we spent a lot of time with the walkers before they went out. They went to look at a city stop that was familiar with this. They saw the drive-thru, they saw the cars and stuff, and we practiced with them what they were going to tell neighbors. I'm pretty sure that the vast majority, if not all of the neighbors who signed the petition knew that there were all of these components here. And that's why we put the site plan on there specifically so that they could see the uses laid out. Now, I don't live there and they didn't knock on my door, so I can't swear precisely what they said, but I'm pretty comfortable that at least the people who signed the petition knew what they were supporting. I also forgot to mention, and it may be relevant to you, I hope it is, we started here with our immediate adjacent neighbors, because those are obviously going to be the ones that have the most significant impact and then radiate it out. So the petitions that you have include people who live immediately adjacent to it, and they're all within the boundaries of Providence.
I guess I feel a little like we're playing Twister on a doormat. It sounds good in theory, it works, and what I mean by that, it's too intense for this project. One of my primary concerns is that this is an automobile-centered proposal, and this community is really best suited for a pedestrian-centered project. That access is gained utilizing the private drive that was really designed to access that private community. I'm afraid my recommendation will be for denial if you're asking for the whole thing, but I do want to wait and hear from my fellow commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Moody.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Moody, if it would be your pleasure, you can hear directly from the guys who are involved about why they did it this way and why they were asking you to consider it as a whole package, if that's would be helpful.
Would you prefer that, Mr. Moody? Hearing from Mr.
I'll defer to the chair on that. If you'd like to hear a little, I think I would appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. Gordon, good evening, sir. Please state your name.
Hank
and
Gordon,
address for the record.
1770 North Buffalo Drive. In answer to a response to Commissioner Moody, when we drove by this center the first time, the Bank of America had foreclosed on it. And in fairness to all the commissioners here, nothing was brought up so far that there is no commercial zoning for quite a distance except for a small parcel on Wallapai just north of the freeway off and on ramp. And I don't know if there are any plans for any more commercial in the general area, but this is it, to provide goods and services to all of the people in this area. And we drove by it the first time when the broker called me and said Bank of America had foreclosed on the property and go look at it. So I drove right by it, called the broker and said, I think I'm in Reno, I don't see any shopping center here. And I realized at the time that the shopping center lacked a few things. Obviously, there were no tenants but one, a sandwich shop in there. And one of the problems was they did not have a pylon sign, so we put up a pylon sign. To mitigate the traffic problems, which it was a big problem, when you came out the driveway here, you could not make a left turn out or in. There was a center island along here blocking it. We went and had a traffic study done and convinced the Public Works Department to allow us to put in a break in the traffic so traffic can get in and out. So if somebody shops in here, instead of going out to Wallapai, coming this way, they can come right back to all the housing to the west of it, which is significant because that's where most of our customers are. And with respect to the too busy or too much on one site, I've been doing this for a long time. All we do is commercial retail properties, and I've been doing it for 56 years. In 1960, I built my first 7-Eleven store, so I'm very familiar with convenience markets. And we knew that this would not be a successful shopping center or get the rest of it leased unless we could get a convenience store or some kind of a grocery market there. So I went around and looked at who was doing the best job in Las Vegas as far as convenience markets and gas stations, and I found Bruce Famillion, who owns City Stop, and we got together and said, okay, we'll build this for you, but just be aware that the architectural committee for Providence is going to be very stringent. And he flew his architect in for at least 3 or 4 meetings to meet with that committee. Landscaping, we made a lot of changes before this was ever submitted to the city to satisfy that committee, because the people who live in Providence have to live with this. We very rarely, if ever, in the last 25 years in Las Vegas have ever sold anything we've developed. We're not merchant developers. Therefore, we have to live with what we develop, both in looks and the quality of the tenancy. And I can assure you that all of our centers are basically leased, notwithstanding the recession, because we do a pretty good job of tenanting and the quality of management. So having said all that, I believe that my experience in laying out a convenience market, gas station, car wash exceeds that of the planning department, who said they think it's too busy. We have 46,000 square feet of land in this parcel. The typical gas station C-store property is probably 22,500 to 30,000 feet. So we believe there's plenty of room in there, and certainly there's great access from every direction. At this point, if somebody lives in this area and wants to go out and buy a bottle of milk or a loaf of bread or whatever they want to do shopping-wise, you really have to drive far. You have to come all the way down south to Deer Springs or the freeway, go east to Durango, get off and go to Smith's. And for major shopping, I can understand that. But just for convenience, we believe that this is great for the neighborhood. Obviously, the neighbors feel the same way, or we weren't be able to get 600 approvals. And these aren't approvals from people who live far away. These are people right here in the neighborhood. So having said all of that, I would appreciate it if you would approve this.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Does that answer your question, Mr. Moody?
I appreciate his comments. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else on the commission wish to
Yeah.
say anything? Mr. Goins?
Yeah, just a couple comments. I think if anything, when you look at who's developing these things, I think that adds a lot of credibility to it as well. And I think if you look at Mr. Gordon's record, I think he's probably one of the Rolls Royces out there in the development, as well as with the owner of the city stop markets. But I think that's what you want out here in a sense, because of the proximity of any other commercial uses here. I think this center will get a lot of pedestrian traffic. I think there's just a false sense of that this is going to be overloaded with cars. I think that's why they call it convenience. I think that's why the justification for the drive-through is there, because it will allow for people to conveniently come in and consistently move in and out of the shopping center without having to look for a place to park and get out and things like that. So I think it serves its purpose. I think these are the type of centers that we like to see have activity, especially when it is that far from any other type of retail use, and even going down to Durango to the Smiths is a pretty good jot. So I think it is, and I think over time you will see it serve its purpose as this area becomes more developed. There'll be more commercial uses there, which will take some of the burden off. But I think by that time, with the branding and the operators, you'll have that loyal customer that will always go back there. And I think that's what helps our development sustain themselves over a period of time. So I applaud it and can approve it as submitted.
Thank you, Commissioner Goins. Does anybody
Madam
else
Chair,
wish to say anything?
Just a few questions, comments. I'm not sure on the traffic counts on how many cars or customers you'll see in any particular day, but if this is the only business within miles to grab a hamburger, fast food, and car wash and gas station, it tells me that the site's going to have a heavy amount of traffic. And I would tend to agree with Commissioner Moody in regards to the gas station, the pumps, the restaurant, and the car wash is somewhat overbuilding this site. You know, if the car wash went away and you gave yourself more room between the gas pumps and the convenience store, I think I'd be more willing to vote for this item. There's a gas station right down the street from my house with a car wash that's built just about as tight as this, and I barely can get in and out to just get fuel. And if they added a fast food restaurant, it would be impossible to get in that site and out of the site. And so that's all the questions I have, or comments I have right now.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? If not, go, Mr.
Madam Chairman,
Flanders.
just a couple quick comments. I'm going to support this for the following reasons. What I've heard tonight, there's really nothing else in the area that provides this to the folks. I don't think it's going to, I think there's going to be a little bit of busy activity around there, but I don't see this as a destination for people outside the neighborhood, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be folks that are coming home. This makes it easy to get gas, car wash, sandwich, or whatever it may be, a jug of milk. With that said, I would urge support of this measure.
Thank you very much. With that, Mr. Moody, you ready for a motion?
Not quite. Before we vote, I do have questions about whether there would be any conditions on hours of operation for gaming, car wash, and deliveries.
Madam Chair, Commissioner,
Yes.
a very good question. I'm glad you brought it up. We did specifically commit that we could agree to limited hours of operation on the car wash. Mr. Familion's other facilities have conditions that limit the hours from dusk to dawn so that there's no disturbance in the early mornings or late evenings. We could happily do that here. We didn't, what were the other ones? Gaming and...
Gaming and deliveries.
I think the answer is probably no on the gaming because it's an integral part of the store, so when the store's open, they're available. But what could we do with deliveries? Yeah. Okay, so Mr. Familion said he could do the same thing with in terms of deliveries to limit them to the daylight hours.
Dusk to dawn. Okay. I'm prepared to make a motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item 28, special use permit 44851, recommend approval subject to conditions.
Thank you. A yes vote is for approval. That passes. Thank you.
Item 29, SUP 44852, recommend approval subject to conditions.
Yes vote is for approval. Thank you. And that too passes.
Item 30, SDR 44850, recommend denial following staff's recommendations.
Thank you. A yes vote would be for denial, correct, and a no vote would be for yes. Thank you. Commissioner Goins needs to withdraw his vote.
So the yes is for the denial, or?
Yes. Quit copying me, Byron. Thank you, and that motion passes, meaning the motion fails, which means it passes. I mean, it fails. So now we need a motion for approval. Commissioner Goins.
Madam Chair, move for approval of item 30 SDR 44850, subject to all staff's recommendations and condition.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Goins, did you want to add the hours of operation limitation?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Adam.
Mr. Director, was that done on the previous item?
No, actually, this is a little bit unusual in that the car wash does not require a special use permit. Typically, you would attach the hours of operation to the special use permit because that's an item that can be revoked at a later point in time. One of the problems with attaching the hours of operation to a site plan is that the site plan cannot be revoked.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve item 30 SDR 44850, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions. And I don't know if I need to ask the city attorney to go back to 29 just to add an additional condition.
Yeah, what you would do is take a vote on item number 30, and then at the end of that, move to rescind your vote on item number 29, and then re-vote on 29, adding the hours of operation. So you're going to need 3 votes. The first one, knock out 30, go back, rescind 29, redo 29.
So before we go forward on 29, or I mean on 30, does that include relocating the trash enclosure?
It should.
Because that should fall on the site plan, which was
Yes.
part of your presentation.
It's a very good question. You
So-
certainly impose a condition that requires us to relocate the trash.
We'll add a condition to relocate the trash enclosure.
To any specific location, or we?
You want to specify a location, or?
Quinn?
Why don't we just say we'll locate it along the eastern boundary line?
There is a condition for relocation of the trash enclosure to a minimum of 50 feet away from the residential.
Well, that's perfect.
Okay. That being said, I'll move for approval.
Thank you.
And on 29, I wasn't the maker of the motion, but would I need to have the maker of the motion rescind?
No, if you were voted in the majority, anybody could make the motion to rescind or reconsider, so.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to rescind item 29.
Thank you, Byron. So we'll rescind the motion and revote.
I think we have to cast a vote on the motion to rescind. There it is.
There it is. So this is the motion to rescind the vote.
Right.
And that passes. And now we need a motion on number 29, Byron.
And then a motion on item 29, move for approval of SUP 44852, subject all staff's recommendations and conditions, and to add a condition regarding the hours of operation on the.
I think what we said was we would limit the hours of operation on the car wash to dusk to dawn, and we would limit all deliveries to dusk to dawn.
We're going to need something more specific than dusk till dawn, because that changes depending on the year. We need hours.
You're asking me to compute when dusk and dawn is. Are you okay with, what's a good?
7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
About 7 to 7. That way when it's dark.
He's more comfortable with 6 to 8 if you are. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yep.
on both the car wash and deliveries.
Yes, sir.
Let that be the amended motion. Is that acceptable, Director?
In terms of the format of the motion, yes, that is acceptable.
Thank you.
It's very tactful.
That'll be my format.
Well, I'm going to be voting for the format.
I feel like that.
Thank you, and that motion passes as well.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Commissioners,
Thank you
good evening.
very much.
Madam Chair, these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're now moving to item number 34. I'm sorry, 31. Excuse me. Are these all together?
No.
This is SUP 44865. Applicant owner is 1015 Centennial LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a gaming restricted establishment within a previously approved tavern from a waiver to allow the use to be located 165 feet from an existing single-family detached dwelling where 350 feet is required at the northwest corner of Durango Drive in Deer Springs Valley. This is in Councilman Ross's ward. Staff report, please.
Madam Chair, the proposed use is located within a shopping center that is oriented toward Durango Drive and is buffered from the single-family residential dwellings by a less intense office use, and there is no access between the proposed use and the protected use. As such, staff finds that it can be conducted in a manner that is compatible and harmonious with the surrounding land uses and recommends approval. Please note, we did receive additional letters of support and protest since publication.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Ms. Lazovich.
Good evening again. Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. We appreciate staff's recommendation for approval. As required in the town center code, we had to mail out over 200 notices, certified mail, for a neighborhood meeting. At the neighborhood meeting, no one attended. I have to probably say the only angry calls we got were from the people who went all the way down to the post office to get that certified letter for that neighborhood meeting, but it was more about that than the actual use itself. So with that, we would ask for your approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? Please come forward. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I just noticed on the disclosure that I believe Mr. Dapper is part of the LLC, and since I have another transaction with him, I'm going to abstain on this item.
Thank you, Commissioner Truesdale.
Madam Chair, if there's no discussion amongst the commissioners, I'm ready to make a vote.
Perfect. Go
That
ahead.
would be for approval following staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Motion is for approval. That motion passes with Commissioner Truesdale abstaining.
Madam Chair, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. The next item is item number 32, which is SUP applicant SUP 44896. Applicant is Fox and Hounds Tattoos. The owner is W2007 Stratosphere Prop Company LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a tattoo parlor body piercing studio use at 2000 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Suite D7. This is in Councilman Coffin's ward. Could we have the staff report, please?
Madam Chair, the proposed use will be contained within the hotel and gaming establishment. As such, staff finds the use to be harmonious and compatible with the surrounding use and the current use and recommends approval. Please note we received an additional support letter and protest since publication.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Good evening, applicant.
Good evening. My name is Nick Elliott. I'm the owner of Three Lions LLC, doing business as Fox and Hounds Art Gallery and Tattoo Shop in the Stratosphere, 2000 Las Vegas Boulevard.
So you're inside the Stratosphere?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I hope to be.
Oh, you hope to be?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Please come forward.
Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight representing the Stratosphere. Obviously, we're supportive of them and would ask for your support as well.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. Anyone else here wishes to speak on the item? See none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll open it up to the planning commissioners.
Yeah, Madam Chair. I want to just disclose, I have an interest in a property across Las Vegas Boulevard and south of here, but this use is inside the hotel itself.
Yes, sir.
I don't think it's not going to affect my property or any of my interests positively or negatively. So with that disclosure, I will go ahead and vote on this item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's appropriate with the city attorney?
I'm sorry, that's correct. We discussed it. I think that's an appropriate disclosure and decision.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Trinity?
I really have no comments. If nobody else has any comments on this, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
On item number 32, SUP 44896, I'd like to make a motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval.
Thank you. That motion is for approval. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes. We're going to take about a 10-minute break right now, so we'll be back in just a few minutes.
And
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much indeed, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody ever say? We will be getting back together in just a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, we are back. We're back to related items number 34 and 35. 34 is SUP 44932. Applicant is Cash America Super Pawn, owner Rainbow Ridge Plaza LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed pawn shop within an existing building with waivers to allow a 0-foot distance separation from residentially zoned property where 200 feet is required, and an 82-foot distance separation from a financial institution specified where 1,000 feet is required at 3104 North Rainbow Avenue. This is in Councilman Barlow's ward. Staff is recommending denial. This is related to item number SDR 44930. Applicant is Cash America Super Pawn. The owner is Rainbow Ridge Plaza LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment of a previously approved site development plan review Z0065887, parentheses 4, for a proposed 1,568 square foot addition to an existing 4,963 square foot building. And we can have staff's recommendation now, please.
Chairwoman Quinn, the applicant is proposing to expand an existing commercial building for the relocation of a pawn shop. The proposed pawn shop requires waivers of the distance separation requirements from both residentially zoned property and from another similar use. Staff recommends denial of the special use permit based upon the waivers required. However, the proposed site development plan review meets all development requirements for the C1 limited commercial zoning district. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the site development plan review, as the proposed site could be utilized for other permitted uses than the proposed pawn shop. Now, please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you, staff. Ms. Lazovich, good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chairman, before we start, one of the individuals that will be affected by this transaction is Ernest Becker, Jr. I was involved in extensive litigation against him representing a client. Out of an abundance of caution, I'll be abstaining on this matter.
Thank you, Commissioner Flangus. Ms. Lazovich.
Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. If you can zoom in, can you zoom in on the aerial a little bit? Maybe not? Okay. This is Cheyenne right here. Here's the 95, and this is Rainbow Boulevard. Since 1995, thank you very much. Since 1995, Super Pawn has occupied a location at the end of this inline retail building right here. As you can see, immediately north of us are homes, and they've been a good coexisting neighbor in this area and adjacent to these homes. However, because it's part of an inline retail center, we would like to expand our retail operations, and it's just not possible with the current configuration of the site that we're in now. So what we would like to do is move our operation from this side of Cheyenne, immediately south of Cheyenne, to this location right here. To give you an idea, Walmart sits directly across the street from us in this large shopping center. This shopping center that we would be moving into has an existing grocery store, a few other tenants in there. We would be occupying this building right here, which is a former Wells Fargo building that is now vacant. So we would be asking to go into that building. This gives you an idea of what the building would look like. If you are familiar with this building now, you know that Wells Fargo has a drive-through. We'd be removing that drive-through and basically increasing the square footage on the inside with retail space and other things that we functionally need to operate our Super Pond location. We did have a voluntary neighborhood meeting. We had that meeting about a week ago now on a Monday, and no one showed up to that meeting, so I certainly hope I take that as a positive sign. As this commission knows, Super Pond is a leader in the industry. They take pride in their buildings. They always do a good job in their improvements, both on the inside and the outside. Their signage is as represented here today. We do have the waivers that staff indicated on our first application. One is a waiver to the residential that in this new location would be immediately to the south of us, but similar situation to what we have north of Cheyenne. We're in the exact same scenario. However, we have to ask for a waiver because property line to property line, I believe they consider it 0 feet. We also have to waive to any other financial institutions specified, which includes more than just pawn shops. It also includes check cashing or payday loan operations. And so as you can see immediately across Rainbow, these two triangles indicate financial institutions specified. Those are not pawn shops, but they are financial institutions specified, so by code, we also have to waive to those as well. We certainly think that we can be a good neighbor to the residents. Again, in our location just to the north, we always have been. We're a good tenant to put in a commercial retail center. We have a lot of customers that come in just simply for retail purposes, and that drives additional interest in the center that's there today. The good news with that center is it does have some operating businesses, but there are still some vacancies, and perhaps, you know, when you get in some new businesses, that can kind of spur some additional interest in perhaps filling those vacant spaces. So we appreciate your consideration of this, and we would ask for your approval of both items.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this? If so, come forward. No. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to planning commissioners. Ms. Lazovich, I just have one question. So you're leaving a site that's owned by the Beckers?
The site that we are in currently is, my understanding, is an entity that is owned by Ernie Becker, and we are going to a site that is owned and managed by Barry Becker.
Okay, so I know this is really none of my business, but so what are the chances of them having two of those? Would they have to come in front of us to get the second site? Like, what if they decide to leave that site and just open another site? Do you know what I mean?
In the old location?
No, like, let's just say we approve the new location and you decide not to leave the old location. Does that mean we're going to have two locations?
Well, I might turn to staff a little bit on the on one technicality, but on the just revisiting the pawn shop way that pawn shops are regulated in the city of Las Vegas, the licenses are based upon a population increase. So unless there is a population increase in the city of Las Vegas, there are no new pawn licenses available. So
okay, so if you shut this one down, then you can open the other one. You cannot open up both at the same time.
Right. We would not, and thank you, I'm sorry if I did not make that clear. Our intent is absolutely to leave the location where we are currently. We will close that down, and we will move, if this gets approved, to the site that is south of Cheyenne. There will only be one super pawn in this area.
Okay. Staff, what is the what is the correct, I mean, I believe you, Jennifer, I just want to make sure, because I don't want two on one.
Madam Chair, they would not be able to have two licenses operating simultaneously. As has been indicated, there is a limit to the number of licenses that we can issue to pawn shops based on population, so we can only issue a license in one location.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, anybody else wishes to comment on this?
Madam Chairwoman, I will be able to support this motion. I think, this is a mature shopping center that abuts a mature neighborhood, and over the years, that center has abutted that neighborhood, and I have not heard of really one complaint coming from the residential neighborhood over there. And I think it's going to help this shopping center. It's going to bring some more foot traffic in there. As Ms. Lazarevich stated, there are a couple of vacancies, but I think this is an appropriate use, and I would support both applications.
Thank you, Commissioner Goins. Is there anyone else wish to speak on this item? If not, we'll maintain it.
Madam Chairman, on item 34, move for approval of SUP 44932, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you. That motion passes with Commissioner Flangus abstaining.
And on item 35, SDR 44930, move for approval subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you. And that motion passes as well with Commissioner Flangus abstaining. Thank you, Ms. Lazarevich.
Madam Chair, those items are both final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on now to item number 37 and 38. Oh, 36.
36.
Okay, item number 36 is SUP 44936. Applicant is El Gacho Lucas Cafe. Owners Michael and Beatrice Katz Family Trust Bypass Trust, for possible action on a request for a special use permit to add a beer wine cooler on sale use to an existing 1,613 square foot restaurant with a waiver to allow 300 foot distance separation from a church where 400 feet is required at 231 South 3rd Suite, number 110. This is in Councilman Coffin's ward. Staff is recommending approval. Staff.
Chairwoman Quinn, this is a request for special use permit to allow beer wine cooler on sale within an existing restaurant. The use is permitted in the C2 General Commercial Zoning District with the approval of a special use permit and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the surrounding uses. Therefore, staff does recommend approval. Please note that the 1,613 square feet of area notified for the beer wine cooler on sale establishment use includes the serving areas for alcohol only. The overall building area for the existing restaurant, including back of house areas, is 2,475 square feet. If the application is denied, a beer wine cooler on sale establishment use would not be allowed and the existing restaurant would continue to operate at the location.
Thank you. Is an applicant here? Please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Cami Silva, 9.
Ms. Silva, good evening. Is this your restaurant?
I lease this restaurant, yes.
Oh, you're leasing it?
Yes.
That's nice. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about it?
I'd like to thank you. This is the second Argentine restaurant, and it calls a lot for wine and beer with the foods that we serve, a lot of meats and pasta, and we have a lot of happy customers because they've been requesting
a little
wine
cerveza.
Cerveza.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? If not, thank you. We'll close it and open it up to the Planning Commission.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just a couple of comments. I think this is appropriate for this specific area, and I would be supporting this item tonight. Just a question
for staff. Is the temporary signs that you're talking about with the, where you added the condition due to the A-frame signs on the sidewalk that say breakfast special, coffee, and things such as that, or is it?
With the temporary sign permit, those signs could be permitted for a 60-day period in any one calendar year. Without such a temporary sign permit, those signs are not permitted within the zoning code.
But, and Madam Chair, through you, the A-frame signs are the only ones in question here.
That is correct.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, through you again, I just want to ask if the applicant is aware of that condition.
I wasn't aware, but I will remove them.
Okay, or you can get a temporary sign permit for up to 60 days, it sounds like.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
If there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion on item number 36, SUP 44936, to follow staff's recommendations for approval.
Thank you. That motion is for approval. Excuse me. Something's wrong with my screen. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. That motion passes and is approved.
Madam Chair, this item goes forward to the June 6th City Council meeting.
Yeah, okay. Now we move on to item number 37 and 38, and they're related items. The applicant owner's Palm Mortuary for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a 4.5-acre expansion of an existing non-conforming cemetery at 1325 North Main Street. This is in Councilman Barlow's ward, and it follows with number 38, which is SDR 44937 for possible action on a request for a site development plan for 3.88-acre expansion of an existing cemetery. Could we please have the staff report? Thank you.
Chairwoman Quinn, this request is to expand an existing non-conforming cemetery and through the approval of a special use permit for the entire site to bring it into conformance with the requirements of Title 19. The proposed expansion meets all requirements of Title 19 and is compatible with the surrounding adjacent development. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the requested applications. If denied, the cemetery could not be expanded and would remain a non-conforming use.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. Jason Keppel, 2727 South Rainbow. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We agree with staff's conditions and respectfully ask for your approval of this item.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Mr. Farlow?
Yes, thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I thought that we addressed this some years ago, and they were going to put a wall along Las Vegas Boulevard, and I was complaining about that because I didn't want them blocking the children's cemetery up there. I'm all for it, but still, I thought that we'd been through this before. And also, how can you have an existing non-conforming cemetery? That just does not make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farlow. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? If not, we're going to close it up for public comment, and we're going to open it up to the commissioners. Mr. Truesdale, do you have something to say about this? I'm just curious. I thought maybe you did.
No, if there's no comments, I'd move for approval.
You want to pick out a... Madam Chairwoman, if no other questions, I'll move for approval of item 37 SUP 44938, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you.
scared to press the button on the
Number 38.
Move for approval of item 38 SDR 44937, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Goins. Well, there we go. And we voted and post. I did. There we go again. Thank you, sorry. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, those items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Moving right along to number 39, SUP 44939. Applicant owner is the Abana Family LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 90-square-foot accessory package liquor off-sale use within a proposed 2,400-square-foot convenience store at 4601 West Sahara Avenue. This is in Councilwoman Tarkanian's ward. Staff's recommending approval. Staff.
Madam Chairman, staff finds the use can be conducted in a compatible and harmonious manner with the surrounding uses in the area and recommends approval. Please note we did receive an additional protest after publication.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Good evening, Mr. Brown.
Good evening again. Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing the applicant. And we'd ask that you follow the recommendation of staff and approve this application. We'll answer any questions.
Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this item? If so, come forward. Thank you. Good evening, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Joel Hurtado, 1713 Trip Court, Las Vegas.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Joel. Good evening.
Yes, I'm against this, okay, because we have a church, okay, right in the same commercial site, and we have children, okay, and since this place is going to sell beer and going to sell all kind of liquor stuff, okay, we're against them, okay. This is the pastor too, okay, you want to speak to.
Thank you. Good evening, Pastor. Please state your name and address for the record.
I don't speak English very well, but you know what, so I'm the pastor, the 4601 West Sahara, too close to the Das liquor store, you know.
Okay.
And I had a long time for pastor, and you know, and I don't like it, you know, too close to my church, one liquor store.
Right.
It's almost 90 feet.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? If so, come forward. If not.
May I respond?
Yes, sir.
My understanding, and you'll ask your staff, but I do not believe that they have a certificate of occupancy, and I don't believe they're there legally. But again, I'll let your staff make that. You can ask your staff that. Maybe I misunderstood, but I think I'm correct.
My goodness, is that true?
Madam Chairman, that would be correct. The church does not currently have a certificate of occupancy for that location, and as such is not legally established at that location.
Well, Mr. Jerbick would like to speak to you for a minute.
I don't think so.
Jerbick. This is Brad Jerbick, our city attorney. Meet Mr. Sanchez.
I guess my question would be, do you have any response to staff's remarks?
Yes, I guess, as far as that I know.
Well,
because, see, when we moved right there, we're going to be a year in July. And the guy who ran us, okay, the place, he's supposed to take care of this stuff. I don't know if he did it or not.
he didn't.
Apparently, according to staff, they didn't, but you don't have evidence one way or the other to refute staff in their conclusion that you're not legally established?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I think the
So,
commission knows what to do. You can take the evidence into consideration and weigh it appropriately in making your decision.
I think what we'd like to do is make a motion on Mr. Brown's item, and then you need to see staff immediately before you leave here.
Okay. With who?
Okay.
With him?
Yeah.
Okay.
like any second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so does anybody else wish to speak on this item? Okay, if not, we're looking for a motion.
Madam Chairman, it's pertaining to item number 39, SUP 44939. I move to follow staff's recommendations for approval, subject to all conditions.
Thank you. That motion's for approval. And that motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Madam Chair, this item goes forward to City Council at the June 6th meeting.
Okay. We're moving on to related items number 40 and 41. SUP 44964, the applicant is Vegas One Decatur Apartments LLC, owner City of Las Vegas redevelopment, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed senior citizen apartments with waivers to allow no ground level non-residential development and residential apartments located on the ground level on the west side of Decatur Boulevard, approximately 150 feet south of Vegas Drive. This is in Councilman Barlow's ward, and the staff is recommending approval. This is with related item number 41, SDR 44962, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for proposed apartments and senior citizens apartments. And could we please have the staff report now on both of these?
Councilwoman Quinn, or Chairwoman Quinn, the applicant proposes to construct 2 apartment complexes, one being a senior citizen apartment complex and the second being for all ages. The complexes will have amenities for residents and include separate club facilities for each development. Senior citizen apartments are permitted in the C1 Limited Commercial District with the approval of a special use permit. As the senior apartments are being proposed within a commercial subdivision that has ample access to future commercial development, staff is supporting the requested waiver to not include additional retail on the ground floor of the proposed buildings as required. The second apartment complex is located in an R3 medium-density residential zoning district and is a permitted use. Staff recommends approval of these applications with conditions as the proposed apartments meet all development standards of Title 19, and the project supports the Las Vegas Master Plan 2020 in achieving attainable, affordable senior citizen housing. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Mr. Gebkuki, good evening, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Winston Henderson, architect, 1555 East Flamingo, on behalf of the applicant.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Hendrick. Good evening.
Good evening. We have reviewed staff conditions and request your approval consistent with their recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that is here wishes to speak on this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kevin Offenlock.
Sir, that microphone isn't on. Could you use that other? Oh, there you go.
My
right
name
on.
is Kevin Offenlock. I live at 4919 Santo Avenue. That's just across, and then in that same neighborhood. What I'd like to find out is this the same company that, I think it was about 3 years ago, they proposed to do this same project, and they went in and tore down the buildings and did a little site work, and all they've done right now for, I'd say, the last 2 or 3 years has just been a big pile of dirt as a site. So I would like to know if it's the same organization that did this or it's new owners, because I don't want money, government money or any money spent or any other person coming in there and just tearing the thing up and leaving it after
Right.
2 or 3 years.
Okay, I agree with you, sir, but let's ask City Attorney, Mr. This is the same owner, am I correct in saying so, sir?
Well, here's what it was. The company that had it before was Alpha and Omega and another company. The principal of that company was former Councilman Michael McDonald. He has reformed a new company. He is the sole owner of it. Has the partners that were with him before are no longer with him on this project. The new company is called Fighting Irish LLC, and I think Vegas One Decatur Apartments LLC. And so that's the company doing it now.
Okay, can you tell me then, it was my understanding that when that other project the first time came around, they were receiving grants and government money and money from the housing authority or the redevelopment and things like that. What I would like to know is that, was that money just blown? or is this going to be a project that's going to be going ahead? Because, yeah, my money, that isn't my money. I know the redevelopment comes from other taxes, but I am concerned on that issue. And
It's my understanding, because it never came out of the ground, that the redevelopment monies were not spent and the state tax credits were not taken advantage of. The project right now, to be honest with you, was approved by council at the last meeting. It's contingent upon a number of things, and one of them is getting the state tax credits, which they'll learn in the next couple of weeks if they have them or not. If they do, then it's expected it will go forward, and redevelopment set-aside money that can only be used for affordable housing would go into the project. But it's all contingent upon the state tax credits. If they're not granted, then the project will not go forward. That's my understanding.
Okay, and then I guess my other question is how long before they, or if anybody's got a projected date before it actually starts construction? So like I said, all I got right now is a big old empty lot with a lot of dirt.
I might ask the architect if he has more information than I do. I know that this project is fairly new. I don't know what stage the plans are and if they're in permitting right now or not.
Yes, we are in permitting, and the intent is to begin Phase 1, which are the single-story buildings, later this summer. So the goal is to get started this year. And I would add that this project is far less intense than the previous project, which was an 11-story building. So this is a project that the owners intend to move forward with aggressively.
Right, and I think the other thing to add too is that it's a phased project, so there'll be a first phase, a second phase, and depending on how they fill up and the success of them, there'll be a third phase.
That is correct.
And how high, how tall is this one going to be now?
The first phase will be single-story. The future phases will be 4-story buildings.
Under those conditions, I think it'd be a good project.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming down here this evening, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you. We'll now close the public hearing, and we'll open it up to the planning commissioners for a possible motion.
Madam Chairman, if no questions, I'll move for approval of item 40 SUP 44964, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Item 41, move for approval, SDR 44962, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
And that motion also passes. Thank you, sir, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Madam Chair, these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. The next item is number 42, 440908, applicant The Boyer Company, owner City Parkway, V. Incorporated, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 38-bed, 33,515 square foot convalescent care facility and nursing home, and a waiver to allow a zero landscape buffer along a portion of the east perimeter where 8 feet is required, adjacent to the east side of Tenaya Way, approximately 370 feet north of Peak Drive. This is in Councilwoman Tarkanian's ward. Staff is recommending approval.
Madam Chair, staff finds that the project is supported by the zoning code and recommends approval. Also, staff is recommending approval of the waiver as it's internal to the site and will abut future office or commercial development. Please note we did receive an additional protest since publication.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Is there anybody here to speak on this item? Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Nate Swain, 2112 Pheasant Place, Farmington, Utah.
Good evening.
Just here to answer any questions that you might have about the project.
Okay, is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? If so, come forward. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners.
Madam Chairman, seeing that there's no questions, I would go ahead and move to follow staff's recommendation for approval on item number 42, SDR 44908, subject to all conditions.
Thank you. That motion is for approval. Please vote. And And that motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that item will go forward to the June 6th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Our next item is number 43, SDR 44929. The applicant is Simon Chelsea Las Vegas Development, LLC. The owner is Simon Chelsea Las Vegas Development, LLC, for possible action on a request for a major amendment to previously approved site development plan Z010097, parentheses 6, and SDR 10131 for a 159,257 square foot expansion for an existing commercial center and a 4-level expansion of an existing parking garage with waivers from downtown Centennial Plan build to line requirement along Bonneville Avenue and Grand Central Parkway, and architectural details, streetscape, and interior landscape requirements at the southwest corner of Grand Central Parkway and Bonneville. This is in Councilman Barlow's ward, and staff is recommending approval. Staff.
Chairwoman Quinn, the applicant is requesting to expand the existing commercial center to infill the undeveloped areas of the site and complete the overall project. This third phase of the development includes expansion of an existing parking structure and the addition of 4 new buildings. New common area will connect the buildings with an entry plaza proposed at Bonneville Avenue. The proposed buildings will use similar architectural styles to those used for the existing buildings. A number of waivers of the Downtown Centennial Plan Parkway Center District standards are requested, which staff supports as they are consistent with existing development of the site under previous parkway standards that have since changed. As the proposed development will create a seamless, uniform development that is compatible with adjacent uses, staff recommends approval of the request with conditions. If approved, condition of approval number 8 should be deleted, and condition number 24 should be amended to read, site development to comply with all applicable conditions of Z100-97, parenthetical 6, and SDR-10131. We note that condition number 21 of Z100-97, parenthetical 6, and condition number 15 of SDR-10131 are not applicable to this site. Please note that there is an additional letter of support since publication.
Thank you, Mr. Gepke. Good evening, Ms. Lazovich.
Good evening. Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight on behalf of Simon Outlet Mall. If you can zoom up on the overhead so you can see our whole site. Thank you very much. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the downtown outlet malls. It has certainly been a very, very successful venture for us and a great partnership with the City of Las Vegas in assisting with your overall downtown redevelopment plans. We are excited to complete what would now be Phase 3 of our overall plan. The areas that you can see in orange, which sit right here on Grand Central Parkway in Bonneville, this would be the new area for the retail. And over to the south in light pink, where we have our existing multi-story parking garage, there would be a parking garage coming towards Grand Central Parkway that would match what the parking garage is there today. So we would be adding additional spaces. I believe it's roughly 685 additional parking spaces. We have a number of waivers that we have sat down and worked through with staff. We appreciate their support on these. A number of them were driven by the need to just match with what we've already got, which we're proud of and we think looks really nice. Just to run through a couple of them, one of the waivers was for some trees. I don't want you to think that we're not putting in a lot of trees. It was in certain areas, for example, right here along the corner of Bonneville and Grand Central Parkway. We just have a little bit of a clearance zone, so we don't have any trees right there. But we will have a plaza area with 15 very tall palm trees. So we made up for things like that in other ways. I noted, although it's not a condition in your, a condition that we would agree to, but it was in your staff report that staff wanted to see if we could do some more window displays, perhaps around the outer edges of our buildings along Bonneville and Grand Central Parkway. We'd like to work with your planning department. We have some creative ideas. We need to balance the need for maintaining tenant space on the inside of our buildings, yet at the same time we recognize that your planning staff would like to see some interest in the edges of our buildings that face towards the street. So we have some creative ideas. We'd just like to sit down and work with them, and we'll commit to do so. We appreciate staff working with us on the conditions that they amended tonight. We would ask, if you are going to approve this, that you approve it with those amended conditions, which was deleting condition number 8 and then deleting condition number 24 and replacing it with the language that Steve read into the record, which we would agree to. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. Is there anyone else that wishes to...
I'm sorry. I would like to point out, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have 3 important people sitting behind me, and I couldn't be standing up here acting like I know everything when it's these 3 who have helped me. 2 of them traveled very far. They're in a different time zone. We have Danielle DeVita from Simon Outlet Mall. She came all the way from New Jersey. I have Scott Hennon, our architect, who came from North Carolina. And then Scott Plummer and I are your Las Vegas contingency. So I appreciate very much them being in the audience and staying with us until you were able to hear this item.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. Is there anyone else besides Mr. Farlow that wishes to speak on this item?
Yes, thank you, Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. I wish Jennifer to put the elevations up there and explain just a little bit of where we are on that. Thank you.
You can see on these elevations, we have west, north, and east facing. A common theme with the outlet center has been the vibrant colors. We continue that in the expansion, so you can see that we use a lot of colors to give the property some, an overall development, some depth. The parking garages that will be, or parking garage that will be on the south, the expanded parking garage will match what the existing parking garage looks like. But overall, this gives you an idea of the color combination that we're going for as we move north for Phase 3.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? If not, we'll open it up to the Planning Commission. And if I may just say one thing before my fellow commissioners speak. I think when everybody thinks of the great downtown redevelopment and the wonderful Larry Rubos Center and all these great things that have happened under the watchful eye of Mayor Oscar Goodman, I think of this outlet mall because I live down there and I go there probably 20 times a month, but there's 2 things there that's wrong. One, I don't care if it's 3 days before Christmas or tomorrow, there is not enough parking. And 2, I really think it would do you service if you had a second valet parking because 1 is not enough. That's number 2. And I just want to compliment the company that has built this and took a gamble with our city because I would have never dreamt in a million years that this would have lasted and done so well, and it's impeccably managed. And I wanted to just say thank you for expanding it. So that's my comment.
One other thing, we did reach out to our neighbors across the street, World Market Center. They couldn't be here tonight, but they are supportive of our expansion as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair? I'd like to have the condition on 26 that you submitted. I'd like to hear that again, please.
I think it's 24.
24,
Steve.
I think it was.
24.
The one he amended?
You want me to read it?
The amended one, the amended version, yeah.
Chairwoman Quinn, through you, condition 24 should be amended to read site development to comply with all applicable conditions of Z-100-97 parenthetical 6 and SDR-10131. We note that condition number 21 of Z-100-97 parenthetical 6 and condition number 15 of SDR-10131 are not applicable to this site.
Hence my confusion. I don't know what all those numbers mean to me. Not just because I'm new, but I know the project, and I've had a meeting with Ms. Lazovich, and the Project Neon came up, and I'm interested in how the old and the proposed replacement language affects the project, affects the city, affects the residents.
Madam Chair, Lucian Pye with Public Works. Yes, I believe we made the condition changes to essentially help the city out. We're requiring them to coordinate with NDOT with the Project Neon, and by deleting this condition and clarifying the other SDRs and the zoning had other similar conditions relating to requirement to coordinate with NDOT. And because we already know that they're coordinating, and it's between NDOT and this property owner, we're not going to require any condition to prevent this development from occurring, to have to coordinate with NDOT.
Okay. Does this in any way conflict with the conditions imposed on the previous zoning and development review approval?
Well, the condition that was read in, it only affects, it says to comply with the previous conditions, the applicable previous conditions. So as far as the previous SDRs, we believe they've already been met, but if there is anything there that needs to be complied with, we have the condition that they must comply with them.
This may be an overcorrection or an overstatement, but what was on the books from the previous appeared to be a kind of a blank check to whatever NDOT wanted and NDOT was going to get from the developer, and it just didn't sound fair to be imposing that question mark odd into the future, including this third and final phase. So if the applicant's satisfied with the introduction of the replacement language of item 24, then I guess I have no complaints, but I'll ask Ms. Lazovich that.
Thank you, Commissioner Bonar. We are satisfied with the amended version of condition number 24 because it expressly states that the conditions that we had concerns with on the prior two site plan reviews, which was condition number 21 and condition number 15, do not apply to this site. And this site, meaning doesn't apply to what we're doing in phase 3. Those were really important to us to make sure that there's clarification on things that don't apply to us going forward with phase 3. So we are comfortable with the amended version of condition number 24, and it in turn clarifies conditions previously placed on phase 1 and phase 2. So we clean it up in phase 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? Mr. Truesdale.
But the application before us is just for this expansion. We're not modifying the existing phase 1 and phase 2.
No.
So those issues are done. Let's focus on 3, and I think we give you the language that makes it capable for you to develop this project to its and without any delays and timing, right? Am I correct, Public Works? Okay.
Yes.
One other question, when we met earlier today, there was a question with regard to the cab queuing. Were you able to?
Yes, I'm told that right now the cab queuing somewhat occurs where we're going to be building the expansion of Deck A, and I am told that we are going to be, once we build Deck A, we're moving the cab queuing over to the west side of the property.
Okay, so it'll have better stacking. I mean, luckily the problem you have is a very successful center, so that's the good part.
It's a good problem to have, but still a.
But I've been by there late in the evening, and it's huge queuing on the cabs, and I was just concerned where that garage was going, where we were going to queue up, but it's great, and I'm glad you're doing well enough to expand this and keep growing downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we see Project Neon finished as well, so everybody can get downtown.
Is that ready for a motion?
Yep. I'll make a motion to follow staff's recommendations on item, what do we got the item here? 43 with the amended conditions as read in by staff.
Thank you. And And that motion passes.
Madam Chair, that item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you, Ms. Lazovich.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
You too. The next item is item number 44, SDR 44942. Applicant owner is Osvaldo Fumo for possible action on a request for a major site development plan to add 1,918 square feet to a second-floor addition to an existing 3,198 square foot single-story building and a waiver of the downtown Centennial Plan streetscape standards at 503 East Bonneville. This is in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin's ward. Staff is recommending approval. Staff.
Madam Chairwoman, the waiver of the downtown Centennial's streetscape standard that is required is supported by staff as the request is due to the existing condition of the property, which prevents these standards from being met in their totality. Staff does recommend approval of the request. Please note we did receive an additional protest after publication.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Good evening.
Good evening. David Hardy, 7225 Bermuda Road. I represent the applicant. We appreciate staff's recommendation of approval, and we agree to all the conditions of approval except for item number 10 that we have a question on.
Okay, shoot.
Item number 10 is requesting a dedication of a 10-foot radius in the southeast corner of Bonneville and Las Vegas Boulevard. This is already an improved corner with street lights, handicap ramps, and sidewalks in. And I don't know if this can be seen through the overhead projector here, but if we do provide that 10-foot radius, it'll actually encroach into the handicap ramp that's there existing. It is not a standard requirement. It's not required to provide any adequate sidewalk at the intersection. And we don't see any useful benefit to the city of Las Vegas in terms of right-of-way whatsoever.
Well, we certainly don't want it to go into the handicap ramp. So, staff or Public Works?
Madam Chair, through you, this actually is a standard condition in all of downtown because we require wider sidewalks and wider landscape in the downtown area. We require an additional 5 feet or 10 feet radius at each property corner. The condition does allow for the applicant to have some type of relief. It reads that unless otherwise allowed by the city engineer. So if during their plan review they can provide with the engineering drawings a compelling reason not to require what all other properties are required to do, then they can receive relief through the condition as written. But it is a standard condition for all areas in the downtown area.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Madam Chair, if I might just clarify, in terms of the additional radius that's required, that does not impact the handicapped ramp that would be at the corner or the construction of the sidewalks and the design that has been submitted to us. If I could just ask Mr. Pate to respond to that.
Sure. I'm just looking at the plan. I don't see a handicap ramp there. There is an access, and public roadways or public right-of-ways are allowed to be used as access paths, but I don't see a ramp there. Obviously at each corner, at the corner of Bonneville and the Boulevard, there will be a handicap ramp, but those are always in the public right-of-way as well. So I don't believe it will affect any handicap access or harm the applicant in any way.
Okay.
Actually, there is a standard detail that my civil engineer says that this is not required in the area. We conform to the other 4 corners is what we've been told, and that the handicap access would be affected. There's kind of a knuckle there. If we can go back up to one of the pictures, it shows that corner in one of the photos with the existing red pavers, street lights, handicap ramp, all in existence, which is identical to across the street. And this is a 72-year-old building that was involved in a major fire. 2/3 of it was gutted. What we're trying to do is improve the area, put palm trees down Las Vegas Boulevard, pavers along Bonneville, and make a very nice project for the city.
Madam Chair, again, through you, if I may, if they have a compelling reason they can provide to the city engineer that they don't need to provide the dedication, we'll be able to accommodate them, but to not require it when all other corners have been required to do it would not really be equal. We do have a standard in the downtown area that requires a 10-foot radius, and I would be glad to talk to their civil engineer later on after the meeting or after this, but I would recommend that we keep the condition as is because it does allow them potential relief if they can provide a compelling reason why they don't need to dedicate the property.
Okay.
Madam Chair, might I just state that this item will be going forward to City Council at the June 6th meeting, and that we have adequate time between tonight's meeting and June 6th to work out that condition if there's any questions or concerns.
Very good.
So, are we going to move on it now? Public hearing. Okay, so is there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this item? If so, come forward. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I agree with staff. I mean, it's a great project. I'm glad they're finally getting an opportunity to rebuild their building that was affected by the fire. But I think Public Works did address the issue that it's standard condition. They do have an opportunity for relief. So I would make a motion, if there are another comment, I'd make a motion for approval subject to all staff's conditions.
Thank you. The motion is for approval. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes.
And again, Madam Chair, that item goes forward to City Council at the June 6th City Council meeting.
There was an item that we were trailing tonight, number 27, which was applicant Louise A. Martinez, owner Transwestern Investment Holding. Are you here? Okay, well, you're not here, so sorry.
Madam Chairman, if not, there doesn't appear to be anybody here for a public hearing. Can we make a motion to hold this till the next
Yes.
meeting? So I'll make that motion.
The motion is to hold it till the next meeting. Thank you.
And just to clarify for the record, that will be the June 12th Planning Commission meeting.
Wow, really? Ooh. Thank you. Now we go to Director's Business. Oh, I'm sorry. I voted. I'm sorry. That motion passes to hold it till the next meeting. Now we're moving on to Director's Business, number 44-950, for possible action on the appointment of new members to the Downtown Design Review Committee. Mr. Director Flynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are at the end of the term for one of our Planning Commission members who sits on the Downtown Design Review Committee, and that is the seat that's currently held by Mr. Truesdell. We would request that you appoint a member of the Planning Commission for another 3-year term to the Downtown Design Review Committee.
Oh, can we nominate someone?
It's up to the chair, yes.
Oh, I'd like to nominate Trinity.
I'm already on it, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Schlottman is already on the committee, and his term is still running.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Truesdell.
Oh, me too. I'm sorry. You want to do it again?
I'd be glad to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I want to second that nomination. Do we vote?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. That passes barely, just kidding. Number 46 is Director's Business 45073. Oh, that's been held in abeyance. Okay. How about number 47, text 44958, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for discussion and possible action to amend Las Vegas MC 19.18.030 related to measurement rules by updating subsection D regarding computing parking to address changes to federal law associated with an exception to the handicap parking calculation for certain types of parking areas or spaces. Can we have the staff report, please?
Chairwoman Quinn, the proposed tax amendment will bring Title 19 into compliance with the latest version of the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act regulations by excluding parking spaces used exclusively for buses, trucks, and other delivery vehicles, excuse me, law enforcement vehicles, or vehicular impound from being considered in the calculation for computing the number of parking spaces that are required to be handicap accessible. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the commissioners for comment or possible.
Question for staff. Under that, the way you read that, does that mean something like Metro headquarters would be exempt from providing a certain amount of or is that because those are predominantly law enforcement vehicles?
Chairwoman Quinn, through you. Basically, in the case like Metro, if they have a lot where they have designated parking areas for their police units, those specific stalls would be excluded from the total count when used for parking calculations for handicap spaces. Not the total number of spaces. In other words, the spaces that are still there and available for the public to park in are still counted toward handicap parking calculations.
Well, that seems
Does this change our requirement where the city varies from the county with regards to, the number of van spaces or how a van space is designed, or?
No, it would not change the design of the spaces. It would just change how we compute the number of spaces provided.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could, through you.
Yeah.
So does this make it more or less burdensome for an applicant coming in?
The end result in most cases where we have these instances would be to lower the number of handicap parking spaces required.
That's terrible.
But just to clarify, that lowers the number of spaces based on spaces that are not available to the public. That the requirement for the number of spaces based on the public parking is the same.
That is correct. Only the spaces that are dedicated for service vehicle storage, impound parking, for those specific uses would be excluded.
Right. Okay. Thank you. If everybody understands that, there's no further discussion. Trinity?
Chairman Quinn, does this apply just to the public and the government, or is this private entities as well?
It does apply to private entities as well.
No other questions. I'd make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. The motion's been made for approval. And that passes.
And Madam Chair, that item goes forward to City Council in ordinance format.
Okay, and then we have number 48, which is 44959, applicant owners, the City of Las Vegas, for discussion and possible action to amend the LVMC 19.10.100 related to DC-0 Downtown Casino Overlay District 19.10.120 related to the DEO Downtown Entertainment Overlay District in 19.10.140 related to the SB-0 Las Vegas Boulevard and Scenic Byway Overlay District by clarifying and streamlining various requirements and review processes related to the review and approval of signage within the overlay district and to provide for other related matters. staff report, please.
Madam Chair, now that we have reappointed Mr. Truesdale to the Downtown Design Review Committee, we're going to alter his job description just a little bit.
Okay, good.
The proposed text amendment applies to the Downtown Design Review Committee and the 3 special signage districts that we have in the downtown area, that being the Downtown Casino Overlay District, the Scenic Byway Overlay District along Las Vegas Boulevard, and then the Entertainment District. Currently, signage in all 3 of those districts is required to be reviewed and approved by the Downtown Design Review Committee. In response to City Council requests that we streamline our approval processes, what we're proposing to you this evening is that any signage within those 3 special districts that conforms with the sign requirements could be approved administratively by staff. And then only the signage that where a waiver is requested would go forward to the Downtown Design Review Committee. So again, signage that's in complete conformance with the code requirements could be approved administratively, and then signage where the applicant is requesting a waiver would then go to the Downtown Design Review Committee for review and approval. And so that will help to speed up the process for those who do have conforming sign packages. In addition, we're also proposing some changes to the language to clarify the application of the sign requirements. It's been a little muddy along the Scenic Byway overlay where there is some overlap between the districts, and so we're also cleaning up that language there. But again, the significant change that we have before you is to the approval process for signage in those 3 sub-districts.
Thank you, Director Fagg. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? Mr. Farlow? If not, we'll close the public hearing, and if anybody wishes to speak.
Madam Chair, I have a question for staff. Underneath the Downtown Casino Overlay District, did y'all just strike number 7, the entire number 7? So the individual sign surface area shall not exceed a total of 1,500 square feet. So under these new guidelines, can a applicant bring in a super graphic?
No, that is not the case currently. Hold on just one moment. We are not striking item number 7. We're just renumbering that section of the code because we're deleting number 6.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say? Then we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, item number 48, TXT 44959, I'd like to make a motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval.
Thank you. The motion is for approval. Please cast your votes.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to abstain on this text amendment only because I own
Okay.
property along Las Vegas Boulevard that's directly affected by this, and
All right.
I'm uncertain whether it would affect me positively or negatively more than anyone else, so I, in
Thank you,
abundance of being
Commissioner.
cautious.
That motion passes with Commissioner Truesdale abstaining.
This item will go forward to City Council in ordinance format.
Before we go to citizens' participation, I just wanted to, along with my fellow commissioners, welcome Mr. Richard Bonar to our Planning Commission, and we're happy to have you. We're always sad to see someone go, but we're happy to have you here, and I hope that you enjoy us as much as we enjoy each other, because it's quite a fun little committee we have here. So welcome aboard. Thank you, sir. And now we open it up to citizens' participation. Public comment during this time is to be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time on any single speaker, is allowed, but may be limited. Mr. Farlow.
Thank you. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street. My comments go back to item number 7 on today's agenda and the future tentative maps. If I could go to the overhead for just a second. I've been attending the Living Green lecture series put on by Steve Ripka at the West Charleston Library. In our 2020 master plan, we are trying to achieve sustainable energy, which means going to solar or wind or something other than generated power through coal and screwing up the environment. Now, Mr. Ripka is on the, his thing is that the way we're living now is unsustainable. My reason for going to solar or other energy is to get away from those bat crap crazy thieves over at Nevada Power. But anyway, on our design, the way that we approve the rooftops and the orientation of the houses in these housing developments is going against what we're trying to accomplish. The roofs and the houses that we approve should have a south orientation. And we need to get away from some of these Tuscany-style roofs that do not have the wide enough area to put the solar energy collectors on them. So we need, when we're approving these tentative maps and the elevations on these houses, we need to start taking that into consideration, because the way that these houses that we're approving them right now will never be able to, they'll never be self-sustaining. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Farlow, and have a good evening. This meeting is adjourned.